Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is sensorality? What does sensorality stabilize? Last episode we talked about falsifiability, how it's been present in overall scientific discussion historically. When you're saying things that are directly, literally, empirically true, it's hard to be falsifiable because it doesn't create this expectation space, these predictions that require untestable experiments. I mean, we're starting with letters. What is the structure of all of languages? And there's just nothing. But again, if you're at this point in the derivation, you know we're doing something legitimate and well past that. But regardless, wanted to start again with the same type of question before we get into the actual derivation. Has an alphabet been adopted after the printing press? And so back to our falsifiability, can you restart the English language, meaning the sounds that we make and we represent them with the Roman alphabet and we say that's English, could you practically change that somehow? Is mathematics going to be spelled differently at any point in history going forward? Right? Because in the past, at some point, somebody had to say, this is what we're calling analysis, this is what we're calling conjecture, this is what we're calling theorem. But we're all born into this world where, again, words have meaning. And so it's such a poignant example because it has happened, and it's happened in the recorded recent history of evolution, right? There was a time when most languages were represented with the Greek alphabet, then to the Roman alphabet, then to the Arabic alphabet. I also have Hangul kanji, like the Korean alphabet. You're going from more of like characters, like icons, things that aren't really, again, like they don't represent like one sound. And so you have this overall historical evolution towards what I would say, what we call alphabets now, is substantially differentiated from like pictographs. But those are just, again, the major writing systems that I have, plenty more. But point being is, well, actually, I don't know. Is there that many more? Because a lot of languages are just represented with the same scripts. But point being is, we have this printing press, and basically historically what I chalk that up to is simply just like adoption, right? Nothing has to be a certain way, but once everyone starts accepting certain behaviors and certain representations, monetary systems, credit systems, whatever, it stabilizes in terms of like the functioning thing of what you're going to do. And so, right, there was a time when somebody said, Saint Cyril said, I'm going to use a different alphabet. And then people had a large-scale, massive adoption. It happened. And so I don't think it would be possible because, again, we're all told these stories and all taught things with these linguistics, these letters, these shapes representing sounds. And so just wanted to point that out, emphasize that a little bit more, that in recent recorded history, there has been a time when people say, hey, we're going to represent these sounds with these shapes. And again, this overall refining process of representing language with letters is based on this fundamental inversion of A and E geometrically. And so just wanted to point that out. Moving along with our derivation. Sensorality is rhyme time, and the time spelling will be on your screen, T-H-Y-M-E, like the herb and spice. Primary, primacy. Sensorality is primacy. Racy, primacy. Sentiment is sensory. Sensorality can sense it. The tension in the room is so thick, I can feel it, I can sense it. What is it? It is what it is. What can sense it? Sensorality. Sensorality kicks the can. So this was another phrasing that has stuck with me really early on in childhood. You get introduced to a game called Kick the Can. At least I was. I don't even really know how you play it, but it was just a phrasing. Again, all of these logical statements just stick with me because they're directly geometric. They have a certain feeling to them. It's just immediately apparent. It's like somebody was considering some logical thing at some point in time. This is the verbiage they're used to represent that. And I just get all of that stuff immediately. And so kicking the can, right, death, right? If you kick the can, if you're over the hill and you kick the can, I guess you're dead. But it was just a phrasing from childhood, kick the can as a game. I don't even know how to play it. But what kicks the can, sensorality does. What is syllability? That is spelling, assigning shape to sound to pronunciation, right? And I just have what I'm thinking here is I have silent syllables, skipping syllables, contraction of pronounced syllables from writing. Right? When you go look at my other videos from my learning language, my reading section specifically, I'm sure when I'm reading the Cyrillic alphabet, you can hear me like overemphasizing things that when you go from, well, you start with sound, right? We started with sound and then people started to represent those sounds with letters. But then when you read the letters, you like overextend vowels, right? You won't naturally, like if you're trying to read and you're at my level, like for Cyrillic, I would say again, like first to third grade-ish area, but you can hear like where diphthongs would be. I'm like trying to sound out the different, I guess the different independent sounds. And so when you go from chronologically, we went from sound to represent those with shapes, with letters, and then people read those letters to reproduce the sounds, directly, literally. And so speaking, you contract syllability, right? And then when you see like me reading Cyrillic and then you go, even me personally singing in Russian, it's like you hit the syllability way more naturally. And that kind of, it's like a natural filtering process when you're learning to read and write, is because you're exposed to language all of the time, all of your media, talking with your parents, talking with your social groups, and then you're saying, okay, what sounds are represented to those letters? And then you learn the shapes to the sounds. And that reverse process of reading them, that's when you sound out all of this contraction. Our primary example, speciality, right? Nobody says special, people say special. So this contraction, numeric syllability, 3 syllables to 2 syllables, is some sort of, again, stabilization. And so the relationship of syllability, spelling to pronunciation is just what we just described. Moving along. What do accent marks in all languages, all written script, what do they do? They modify your pronunciation directly, literally, not too insightfully. But again, it's all of this process of there's inherent error to representing sound with letters. I mean, there's no 100% efficient processes anywhere, any place, anytime, ever. And so wanting to emphasize that you reduce numeric syllability, special to special, and then you kind of see the reverse of that when you're reading something, especially when you haven't had, like I have a boatload of ear training on tons and tons of languages. I'm empirically aware of the structure of language. And then you can see this most, because I can articulate the sounds, but I just, again, associating literally the letters to the actual word. When I know the word, know the semantic meaning, but it doesn't like, you can, like, you sound it out and you like emphasize or you exaggerate the syllability, the sounds. And you can just see that with reading of a script where you haven't associated the words, the visuals of that shape to what you hear every day. And so accent marks modify pronunciation, but it's just they emerge because of this inefficiency of representing sound with letters. Tension is transient, right? Bob Marley or somebody, right? It'll all work out in the end, right? Everything, it's all good. It's all going to work out. It's like all of this tension, all of this discrepancy passes, right? Que paso, todo pasando. I wanted to say, what que paso is what passes. And I wanted to say all passes, everything passes. Todo pasando is what naturally came to me. But then the syllability of pasando and estaba, right? Lo estaba established, right? It was established. What was established? Estaba. Again, literally, it's a form of establish, right? Syllability is independent of one language. Languages are not distinct. And so tension is transient, just it will pass, is overall que paso, what passes, todo, all, everything. Falsifiability is not viability. Sensorality is fiability. Fiability is filterability. Sensorality is filterability. Filterability is censorable. Deriving cursive. So that was just a statement. I have it highlighted like a theorem. But again, before in this derivation, we naturally introduced iterated words versus integrated or amalgamated words, right? Iteration and integration are effectively the same thing. We'll get to that in a second. But And then it's like, oh yeah, amalgamated words is already identified as compound words. But then we did the same type of thing. When I'm talking about my signature being a geodesic, I just put my ballpoint pen on a paper and try to make the shape of the B without lifting it. That's the entire motivation of cursive, right? Not picking up your pen to make your pen, like your writing, most efficient. And so again, we've derived why cursive exists. Iterating compounds. Right? When you iterate something, a new generation, a new model, a new version, right, you're compounding the changes that you've made. Compound words are reducible. Right? Rather trivial theorem, but if they're compound words, you can just reduce them to their individual components. Compound component. What is irreversibility to irreducibility? Right? Nothing is reversible. Everything takes time. Once that time passes, you can't go backwards. You can't get the past. Irreducibility cannot be broken down anymore. Irreversibility to chronological time. Irreducibility to conservation of mass, relating the two linguistic forms. Sensorality is feasibility. Syllability is feasibility. So now consider the logic and the linguistics. Right? Syllability, the ability to be a syllable, directly literal. Feasibility, the ability to fees. But if it's the ability to be a syllable, it has feasibility potential. Right? Potential is feasible. Iterating refines, integrating adds. Right? Integration is iteration iterated by G and N. Yeah, or N and G. Again, just showing the consonants. But just moving along with the derivation. Resolution is integration. Right? We're refining, we're sitting here iterating the logic of sensorality, and the integration is the resolution. This is what this syllable goes to this syllable, this letter goes here. Sensorality is spatiality, space is essential, space is everywhere, space is quintessential. Something about filtration is going to pop up. But again, like I said, that the resolution, the proof, is this direct iteration. Or I'm trying to show you the chronology. When you go from iteration to integration, we're refining our linguistic, our word form, and then when we show that iteration, it is integrated. Because remember, our knowledge is sufficiently comprehensive. We're just refining the word form as we already have. And so finally, integration is algorithmic. From rhythm to algorithm, and in my other series, language litigation and integration, is a fundamental differentiation that I made like 6 years ago. And we're resolving all of this. Like I said, this is 7 years of active derivation. You guys can't keep up. That's not my problem. Regardless, that is where I finished up for today. My rights continue to be violated. It is profoundly illegal. My life quality is 0. My health is 0. My hope for the future is 0. Nothing can change. There is nobody else out there besides the people that are profoundly aware of my work, and nobody cares. That is what I have for now. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.